As a person who works around children, you are in a unique position to recognize the signs that point to abuse. Look at your students. Is there evidence of abuse? Is the cut on Bobby's arm from falling off his bike, or is he being physically abused? Is Ellen's old coat and torn jeans a fashion statement, or is it a sign of neglect? How about sexual abuse? How do you recognize something you can't see? Occasionally, there are marks or injuries on a child's body that indicate they may have been sexually abused. A victim may suffer persistent ailments, such as urinary tract infections. They may also have suspicious vaginal or anal discharges, or complain of redness or soreness in their mouth, anal, or vaginal areas. If you notice that a child has a suspicious rash or complains of an unusual ailment, follow your organization's reporting procedures. Handling a situation that could be abuse is tricky. Parents and guardians must be informed when their child is sick or injured, but you don't always want to let them know that sexual abuse is suspected. If you are unsure about how to handle a situation, ask Child Protective Services what you should tell the parents. When confronted, a perpetrator may have excuses to explain the situation. They may even blame the events on the victim. The important thing is to always contact Child Protective Services if you suspect that a child is being abused. You don't need to have caught the perpetrator in the act, you don't need physical evidence, and you don't need a child to come forward to tell you that they've been abused. All you need is reasonable suspicion that a child might be a victim of abuse. Often a child's behavior is the only indication that something is wrong. A perpetrator can make sure that there is no physical evidence, groom a victim's family into denial, and brainwash a victim not to tell, but they can't force a child to hide the emotional scars. Any kind of abuse is likely to cause a child extreme emotional and psychological harm, but sexual abuse can be particularly devastating to a child's mental well-being. A child's self-esteem may be severely damaged. They may feel alone, isolated, confused, angry, or ashamed. These emotions often bring about recognizable changes in a child's behavior. The three most common behavioral indicators that a child may be a victim of sexual abuse include a child's fearfulness of places, situations, or individuals, a sudden change in a child's behavior or personality, and knowledge of sexual situations beyond a child's developmental age. Any one of these indicators may be enough for you to contact Child Protective Services. Let's take a look at each one of them. As horrible as it is to think about, some children are sexually abused soon after they are born. Babies and toddlers are too young to tell you that something is wrong, but they can show fear. An abused baby or toddler may be afraid of a specific person, such as one of the parents, or they may fear nearly everyone, or certain types of people, such as all older men. Although some small children will cry or try to push away from people that they're scared of, most will become submissive, quiet, distant, and solemn around the people that they fear. They may be unable to maintain eye contact, become stiff when held, and may react violently when their diaper is changed. Sexually abused toddlers may have a delay in their potty training. They may fear going into the bathroom, and they may have trouble sleeping because of reoccurring nightmares and a fear of monsters. Fear is also an important indicator with older children. Children rarely tell about abuse, but they might indicate that they don't like someone or don't want to go to someone's house. Sexual abuse often causes sudden, radical changes in a child's personality. A little boy who was outgoing a week ago may suddenly be withdrawn. Why? What's bothering him? A quiet, innocent little girl may be acting surprisingly outgoing and all grown up. Why? What caused her to change? Children are individuals, and each will react to abuse in his or her own way. Some victims of sexual abuse become withdrawn and isolated. They may rock back and forth, or even curl up in a fetal position and try to hide. Others become uncontrollable and might act out the type of abuse that they are experiencing. They may beat up their stuffed animals, yell insults at their playmates, or act out sexual situations that are years ahead of what they should know. Sexually abused children often have a negative image of their body. Some victims deal with their negative self-image by dressing provocatively and by acting promiscuously. Others will use clothing to try to hide. They may shield themselves under many layers of clothing, have a fear of changing their clothes during gym, or wear unattractive clothing in an effort to desexualize themselves. Sexual abuse typically causes a child to feel a lot of anger. Some children hold this in. Others have uncontrollable outbursts. They lose control of their emotions for no apparent reason, and like someone flipping on and off a switch, they cycle between what appears to be contentment and uncontrollable rage. Sexual abuse victims usually develop depression and may have unexplained recurring ailments such as stomach problems and headaches. They may regress, suck their thumb, forget their potty training, and have trouble with wetting themselves. As victims age, their lives may be marked by developmental delays, and they may have difficulty maintaining close friendships. The trauma that a sexually abused child feels will usually result in less involvement in school activities and poor grades, but this is not always the case. Some victims become model students. They avoid being around abusive situations at home by staying late at school and getting involved in extracurricular activities. They have learned to hide the emotional scars of abuse and to seek out interaction with caring adults like you. The behaviors to look for in these children are overcompliance, an unusual eagerness to please, and a tendency to act superior to other children. Of course, a change in a child's behavior is not necessarily caused by sexual abuse. There may be other things happening in a child's life that is causing the child to act differently. But when you have reasonable suspicion that a child's behavior may be the result of some kind of abuse, request an investigation. Premature knowledge of sexual situations is another indicator. You are well aware that many children have a natural curiosity about their bodies. But have you ever known a child who had an unusual understanding of sex, was obsessed with body parts, or always wanted to play sexual games? Sexually abused children sometimes have no boundaries. These children may cuddle with strangers, pull off their clothing for attention, try to touch other people's private parts, or have other sexualized behaviors. A sexually abused child may also reveal clues to their victimization through drawings, paintings, and other forms of artwork, playing sexual games with stuffed animals, dolls, pets, or other children, foul language and vulgar names for body parts, and statements about sexual situations that they should know little about. Other indicators of sexual abuse include a child who implies that they may have a secret with an adult or older child, indications that they have a new teen or adult friend, and gifts of money or toys from an older friend. While premature knowledge of sexual situations is an important indicator of sexual abuse in younger children, by the time a child reaches his or her teens, it becomes more difficult to recognize sexual abuse. Some adolescent victims will begin to have multiple sexual relationships, Many get involved in drugs and alcohol. Some commit crimes and acts of violence, including self-destructive behavior, self-mutilation, and suicide. Because of these behaviors, we may have a harder time believing teenagers when they make disclosures. Keep in mind that a child's behavioral problems may be the result of some kind of abuse. It is rare for a child or teenager, even a delinquent teenager, to make false accusations of sexual abuse. As a mandated reporter, you must always err in favor of believing a child. You only need to have reasonable suspicion that a child may be a victim of abuse to request an investigation.